Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into it, digging into what makes Lightning Web Components tick on Salesforce, specifically component communication.
Yeah, the parent-child relationship. It's, fundamental.
Absolutely. And this isn't just syntax, right? It's about the core architecture. You really can't build scalable, maintainable LWCs without nailing this flow of information.
Exactly. And our mission today really is to break down the why behind the two main ways components talk to each other. We want to distill it down to, its essence. It's a pretty simple approach, actually, designed to keep data flow controlled and things running smoothly.
Okay, let's unpack that. So there are two sides to this coin, aren't there? First, how does a parent component send information down to its child? Like configuration or just some data it needs?
Right, the downstream flow.
And then crucially, how does that child signal back up? Maybe a button was clicked or some task is done. How does it tell the parent?
Let's tackle the first one. Parent sending data down to the child. The mechanism here is what we call public properties.
Public properties. So we're talking about using that add-AP decorator in the child component's JavaScript.
Precisely. That add-AP decorator is key. Without it, a property in your child component is, private, internal.
Yeah.
LWC won't really react if something outside tries to change it. But add a TP, and you're essentially telling the framework, hey, this one's public, watch it. Becomes reactive. So if the parent changes the value it's passing,
the framework sees it and automatically handles updating the child component.
Exactly. It triggers the re-render. The framework hands up the change detection, but only for those properties you've explicitly marked with add a peep. Think of it like exposing a specific input port on the child.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's the connection to sort of standard web practices, right? When the parent actually uses the child component in its HTML.
Yeah, yes, the naming convention.
Right. If my child's JavaScript has a property called, say, message from parent decorated with add a pp.
Then in the parent's HTML template, you must use kebab case.
So message from parent.
Message from parent, correct. And that's not just some random Salesforce rule.
It feels deliberate.
It is. It's LWC enforcing standard HTML attribute naming. Attributes in HTML are typically hyphenated, case insensitive. LWC aligns with that. It forces your custom component attributes to look and behave like standard HTML attributes.
Okay, so add API for data down, kebab case in the template. Got it. Now the other direction. The child needs to talk back up to the parent.
Right. The child needs to send a signal. Maybe you finished loading data. Maybe the user clicked something inside it. For this, we use custom events.
Custom events, like standard browser custom events.
Exactly like standard browser custom events. The child creates one and then dispatches it. It uses that dispatch event and sends that event object bubbling up the DOM tree.
And this is where things get, a little strict. There are rules you absolutely have to follow.
Yes, and those rules are there for consistency and predictability, mirroring how native browser events work. First, big rule. The event name
has to be all lowercase.
All lowercase. No exceptions. So if you want an event named message sent, you must use message sent. Again, it aligns with DOM event conventions.
And the second rule involves actually sending data with the event. You can't just stick data anywhere on the event object.
Correct. If you need to pass information back up, maybe an ID or a status or even a whole JavaScript object, you have to put it inside the detail property of the custom event object when you create it.
The detail property, that's the designated container.
It's the only designated container for your payload going upstream. Event.detail is where the parent will look for any data you sent. This forces a nice clean encapsulation. You pass a specific payload, not just random bits of state.
So the child creates this lowercase named custom event, maybe puts some data in the detail property and then dispatches it. How does the parent listen?
Also very standard. In the parent's HTML template, where it uses the child component, it just uses an event listener syntax that mirrors standard HTML. You take the event name.
The all lowercase one, like message sent.
Yep. And you prefix it with on. So it becomes on message sent.
On message auto sent in the parent's template.
Exactly. And then the hand the child event function in the parent's JavaScript will receive the event object.
And it accesses the data using event.detail.
Event.detail. That's a complete round trip. It's a really decoupled system. The child just shouts, something happened, and the parent decides how to react, grabbing the data if needed.
So wrapping this up, we've got add ABP properties for the parent to push data down into the child, making it reactive.
Controlled reactive flow downwards.
And we've got standard custom events for the child to send signals up, using all lowercase names and the detail property for any data payload.
A decoupled, standardized signaling mechanism upwards. It's all about keeping that data flow explicit and predictable.
And importantly for you, the developer, this means you're not learning some totally proprietary communication system. You're leveraging standard web APIs just within the LWC framework's reactive structure.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a, let's say, provocative thought for you to consider. Given that LWC relies so heavily on standard DOM custom events for this upward communication, and these events naturally bubble up the DOM tree, what does that suggest about how you should handle communication between components that aren't direct parent-child?
Like a grandchild needing to talk to a grandparent.
Precisely. If the standard mechanism is event bubbling, how does that influence your component architecture? Does it push you towards certain patterns, maybe using intermediate components, or perhaps looking at entirely different solutions for cross-component communication? Makes you think about LWC structure not just in Salesforce terms, but in terms of standard web architecture.
Interesting. So the reliance on standard DOM events has deeper architectural implications for how you build larger component hierarchies, something to definitely mull over.